Why are people against vaccines and vaccinations? I'm old enough to have had measles, mumps, chicken pox and rubella. Because the vaccines weren't available yet, I missed a month of school because I had the first 3 back-to-back. My parents were old enough for polio to have been a major fear factor in their lives. They had me vaccinated for pretty much everything as soon as a vaccine became available. The anti-vax folks grew up in a time where many diseases that were major scourges, think smallpox and polio, were no longer a concern in the US. They haven't seen the concern bordering on panic when a kid in a class suddenly became symptomatic. For measles, it's incredibly contagious. Thus, they haven't seen their benefits of vaccines firsthand, though they have seen the writing of anti-vax knuckleheads who are in no position to be pontificating about vaccines. In my experience, people that are anti-vax usually also mistrust the government and/or believe in other conspiracy theories. I think those things are strongly correlated. People have confused ideology with epidemiology. Most anti-vax people aren't completely against vaccinations. Most anti-vax people are against the government overreaching and mandating what they shouldn't put in their body. They feel like they deserve the right to choose what goes into their body, even if it's stupid, causes harm, because it's their right, just like it's their right to do dangerous stunts like Evel Knievel, even if it's stupid, dangerous. Truthfully, while there are definitely people who are against the vaccine itself, I think the majority of the people are against having it be mandatory in order to participate in society. I guarantee most of them have their Hep C and other standard vaccines. It's the government forcing the decision that makes people upset. I think vaccines have done such a good job at preventing diseases that people have lost the fear of getting said terminal diseases. And now people think they don't need vaccines. I am vaccinated and very pro-vax. But I am more pro-medical freedom. No one should be forced to donate a kidney, give birth if they want an abortion, or be forced into anything that violates their bodily anonymity. I am against government overreach. I personally will never get a COVID booster again, since my menstrual cycles have never been the same since. I complained to my doctor and pharmacist and they acted like I was being a crazy anti-vax nut job. Now we know the vaccine can and does negatively affect some people's heart and menstrual cycle. I get to make that choice for me and my body. This had been around for a very long time. I'm reading a book on Benjamin Franklin and this was a controversy back then. Not everyone wanted to take the smallpox vaccine and it was quite controversial. The logic never made sense to me. A lack of trust in government and big pharma has lots to do with it. There is a good historical precedent of governments and pharma, chemical companies not acting in the best interest of the people, focused more on tax revenues or chemical sales while disregarding basic well-being of people. Then add to this that the primary medium of communication has created a forum and platform for everybody to have the power to broadcast their ideas. This really seeds doubt into the narrative as approved by central broadcast companies. Lack of education on logical reasoning. General laziness of society who don't read science, or have no time because they barely can afford to live. I know many people far more educated than me who are reluctant to take the COVID vaccine simply because of the difference in government reporting and the scientific research. Also, there is a huge lack of reporting that messes up the data. While I have been vaxxed, I've had COVID multiple times, while members of my family who have no vaccines did not get it. Just in the last 3 weeks I know maybe a dozen people who had COVID. Nobody reported it to anyone. Just called in sick from work for a day or two. So how can we say the vaccine is effective, or if this was just the normal flow of the pandemic? Why do regions of the world with the lowest vaccination rates have the lowest number of COVID-19 deaths? Why has the general death rate from all causes risen by 10–15% during this time in the most vaccinated areas? There are plenty of people in North America who fled repressive authoritarian fascists' corrupt government. And many say things are weird. Well, we have our birds a rent real, so not believing in vaccines seems pretty sensible. Because Jenny McCarthy told everyone that vaccines give kids autism. They don't know what's in the vaccine, and therefore don't trust it. Or they know some of the ingredients and think they're bad. Why? Because they want to feel like they are better than everyone else, and they do this by fighting the system and pretending they are smart by Googling vaccines causing autism. Pure and utter stupidity. People think they know things, but they don't realize they just made it all up in their head. One opinion. Some folk are against them for less than whatever reason. But more are probably against being compelled or forced to put it in their body. I get mine. I think they're generally a good thing. But don't think others should be compelled at the risk of losing their livelihood or whatever to do so. Oop, you've opened a can of worms here. Vaccines like the flu vaccine don't give people long-term immunity. So not all vaccines are necessary. The flu vaccine in particular is a best guess on what will be the dominant flu strains that year. So you may be exposed to a flu strain that it doesn't cover. Typically, flu vaccines are for vulnerable populations, like the elderly, and you're trading getting minorly sick to avoid a major flu sickness. So the side effects are a deterrent, and the lack of major benefit makes it so that all vaccines aren't desired. A general inability to properly analyze risk in most cases. The governments and the pharmaceutical companies do not give a damn about people. I really don't trust them not to think of us as test subjects. I don't think it's as binary as people are either pro or anti-vax. I mean, sure, you get people at either ends of that spectrum, who are probably the most vocal. But there are a whole bunch in the middle who are cautious about some or all vaccines. Perhaps particularly newer ones that haven't yet yielded long-term health effects data. I've always been very pro-vax, but recently had an in-depth debate with my wife as to whether we should get our young kids vaccinated against COVID, where of course there's a whole extra dynamic of morals, as kids themselves are, in the main, not seriously affected by the virus. In short, two sides to every story.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.